Hey there, listeners. My name is Denis Gianoutsos. I'm the host of the Leadership is Changing podcast. Great to have you here with us again today. And I want to talk to you about a really important topic. Life is too short. Some leaders are spending huge amounts of hours working. They aren't looking after themselves. And the next thing is a life situation happens and it's too late. Leaders are spending too many hours working on things and they're not actually looking after themselves enough to help them work at that high performance, that level that they need to be working at in today's dynamic world. Well, what can leaders do? What should they do? So let's discuss.
Welcome to Leadership is Changing. Each week, we and our guests provide information and insights through exploring leading change. This is taking your leadership to another level by finding the balance between executive excellence and personal well-being through stories that inspire real change. It's time to adapt in our fast-moving world when leadership is changing with your host, Denis Gianoutsos.
Hey there, listeners. Welcome to the Ask Denis episode. This is a freestyle episode where I'm asked a question by our listeners, or I share my thoughts, experiences, and insights from working with many leaders around the globe. Well, what an interesting opening that was, because life is too short, and leaders, you are spending too much time actually working long hours. And I'm wondering how much is productivity, or what productivity is there out there if you're working some massive hours? Don't get me wrong, there are times that you're going to have to work some long hours. But for some of you, what you're tending to do is that's becoming the new norm, and it's not actually very good for you. And so this episode today, I want to talk about what do you might need to be doing to look after yourselves? What kind of can you actually do? Because there's a quote out there by Buddha. The trouble is, you think you have time, and you don't. Because there's a lot of things happening in life. There's a good book out there called Outlive. And Outlive is a book that my personal trainer actually recommended to me. And it talks about the horsemen, 4 horses and the riders on them. They're called the horsemen, and they're coming to you. Now, this sounds a little bit dark in what I'm about to share with you, but it's actually real. It's reality. It's what's happening with us. So things around our mental health. The other big ones are blood sugars or diabetes. The next one is heart, and the other one is around cancer. And a lot of these things, these horsemen are actually racing or going towards you. And as you're getting older, every single day, month, year, and time is going by, the horsemen are starting to approach. Now, there's certain things that you can do. In the book, they talk about what you might be able to do to start getting yourself to live a long life, but a life that is going to be of quality, and not just the number of years that you live, but, because as you're getting older, how can it be of a quality life, which is important? A lot of it comes down to you as leaders and the way that you look after yourself. Just this week here in New Zealand, we were reminded of the fact that life is too short. There was a fundraiser event happening in Auckland, New Zealand, and they were raising money to help an organisation, a not-for-profit organisation. And they had a whole lot of famous celebrities in the actual fundraiser. And they had to do a whole lot of actual physical activities. And within one of the teams, there was a political party who were actually forming a team with others. One of the participants, who's a member of parliament, what we call an MP in the New Zealand government, was participating. And towards the end, he collapsed and had a heart attack, apparently. The paramedics weren't able to save him, and he's passed away. It's just tragic. He leaves 2 little kids and a wife, and it's just hard to see it happening. But it's also, at the age of 49, it's just far too early for him to be departing this world. But this is what's happened, and the guy, fantastic person to be around, has helped so many people in charities and in the community and so forth over the years. But once again, it's a reminder to us all that life's too short. For me, I had that health scare a few years ago and I thought life was over as well. But it was a reminder to me that life's too short. And that's why I left my global role to go off and do my business, leading change partners and working with leaders around the world today to lift their performance, to help them because they're overwhelmed, and to help them go to new levels. The thing here for you is this. What are you doing today And are you really achieving things? That's great. But are you really fulfilled? Are you really fulfilling what you're wanting to do in life and where you want to be? As Buddha says, you think you've got time, but you probably haven't, right? So the trouble is you think you have time and you don't. The thing here would be for you to actually start thinking about putting things into perspective and actually understanding what you might need to do. I think for some of you right now, you are overwhelmed and you probably are like this kind of scenario where the tail's wagging the dog, but the dog's not wagging the tail. What do I mean by this? You're not in control of your day. You're not in control of what you're doing. You're reacting to a lot of things, but you're not very proactive in a lot of areas as well. You're probably working things down in the weeds, what we call tactical, transactional things every day, rather than being thinking and working strategically. Depending on your role as well, there are leaders who should be thinking and working more strategically, while others may be in the more tactical side of things. So what can you do as a high-performing corporate athlete, as I call you? Somebody who's out there, because you see, as we move on and life is getting faster for us in a dynamic world where there's so much change happening every single day, you're going to have to be able to cope with it. Because for a lot of you, you're just trying to survive. But what we're talking about here is actually how can you thrive as a leader? And so this high performance side of things is important. As you start to face headwinds, as you start to face rough seas, depending on whatever that means for you, how do you navigate through those rough seas? The first thing is that you need to put your mask on first. And we've been on airlines around the world, and they all agree on that is if the mask drops down in front of you, put yours on first before you help anyone else. Why? Because you're useless to anyone unless you can help yourself. It's the same thing as a leader. If you can't help yourself and are looking after yourself, you're not going to be able to help others as well. Number two is really give yourself permission to take time out. Now, I'm talking about taking 10 minutes, 15 minutes every hour, every 2 hours, whatever's the right thing for you. Not getting to 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock realizing you actually haven't had lunch yet, because you need to do that. Not sitting there working away while you're eating lunch. Actually take some time out as well. Give yourself that permission, because once you start to give yourself that permission, you start working on your calendar, it's amazing what can happen. In fact, here's the third thing, which is around understanding your boundaries. When do you go to work and when do you come home? When is family time? When is it time for you and your partner, if that's relevant for you? When is it time for you? Me time is what I call it. And so what can you do to make sure you look after it? But it ain't going to happen by itself. You have to be deliberate and making sure you're putting some time aside for you. So that brings me into my fourth point, which is really you need to plan your day, your week, your month, your year out. We were with some friends the other day, and what they do is at the beginning of the year is they get a calendar and they work out all the holidays they want to take in the year first. That's the first thing they do. Second thing is that's when they start to think about the countries, the travel, business, and all that, and where they're going to be, and start to plan around that. So what can you do around your boundaries? What can you do to say, okay, these times, these days, this is what I'm doing? Oh, but Dennis, you don't understand. I'm really busy. I get it. Oh, but Dennis, you don't really understand. You know, people are putting times into my calendar. Yeah, but you just used a key word there. My calendar, right? Mine. So in other words, it's your calendar. Even though you're working for an employer and things like that. Now, if your manager wants a meeting, hey, I think you probably should go to that meeting. But there are a lot of people who are inviting you to meetings just for the heck of it, just to have you there for the meeting, or I better invite you. They don't know whether you should be there, and they don't really know whether you're going to add any value to those meetings. So plan your day, your week, and your month out. Another thing for you to do is to meditate, yoga, or just doing pure meditation. Taking time out, 5 minutes, 10, 15, 20, half an hour, whatever's right for you to clear your mind, to get you into the right headspace, to be able to take on what you need to take on. The next one is around exercise daily. Oh, but Dennis, I don't want to go to the gym. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that you do some sort of activity, something where you get movement happening every single day. And it might be a short period of time, But that's all cool, because if you do it consistently, it's going to add up. But this is something I'm going to say to you. If you can become really, really fit in what you do, physically, mentally, and emotionally, and if you can get really fit and all over the place, in other words, mind, body, spirit, so forth, that's going to really help you and be in a great space. Your thinking will change. You'll go to a new level in your thinking, but your performance will go to a new level as well. Now, for a lot of you, you might be drinking tea and coffees and other things as well, and sort of like soft drinks, sodas as they call it in the Americas. That's all very good. But there's one thing that I know that is actually good for you, and that is water. To stay hydrated, 2 liters, 3 liters, whatever's right for you, make sure you are drinking water to stay hydrated, help your brain, but it helps things in general. The next one would be about eating really well. It's about eating food that's going to help you and give you energy, not actually going to drain you. For a lot of you, as you get stressed out, as you get tired, as you're working long hours, you will reach for more of the comfort food, as we call it. And so the important thing here would be for you to actually make sure that you've actually got different areas as well. Number 9 is actually making sure you get a good amount of sleep. For a lot of us, we need that sleep. We're talking about 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep. Once again, don't get me wrong, there's going to be times where you're going to have small amounts of sleep. But you know what? That's not going to be the norm. You don't want that to be the norm. But you want to make sure you're getting some decent amount of sleep. For some of you, if you're working a week and it's really tough and it's a big week and so forth, then take the weekend out to have some good sleeps to catch up as well. But what do? For some of you, you just keep on going, and then another week, and then another week, and next minute you've got burnout happening as well. So make sure you are taking a good amount of sleep. Number 10 is take it easy on yourself. For some of you, you are very hard on yourself. You have high expectations, high standards, and all that, which is all great, which I think you should have. But also remember to take it easy on yourself. For a lot of us, we are harder on ourselves than others would be on us. And so at times, take a breath, step back, and just do some reflection on where you are right now. Take gratitude or have gratitude on what's going on for you. But take stock and take it easy on yourself. You see, there's 10 areas I just talked about you putting in place as a high-performing corporate athlete to look after yourself. Put your mask on first. Give yourself permission to take time out. Understand your boundaries. Plan your day, your week, your month, and your year out. Meditate, yoga, get in the right mindset. Exercise daily, even if it's small, but become really, really fit. And number 7 is drink water, eat really well, get some good amount of sleep, and then again, take it easy on yourself. Now, if you're someone who is feeling overwhelmed and you want someone to talk to, please feel free to reach out to me anytime and let's chat. How can you do that? Email dennis@leadingchangepartners.com, or if you go to social media, LinkedIn or on Facebook or Messenger, and you go to the direct messages area, so on Messenger for Facebook and on LinkedIn messages, send me a private message, and then we can sort of get together and have a chat. All right? So if you're feeling overwhelmed, or you want to look at your goals again, or you want to go to another level, or you want to talk to someone, feel free. Let's get on a call and have a chat. You see, leaders, you can't pour from an empty cup. You need to take care of yourself first. And that's a quote that's come from an unknown person, but that's a quote. You can't pour from an empty cup. Take care of yourself first. Remember, you have to look after yourself to be able to navigate change and the journey going forward. Hey, listen, that's it for this episode. It's always a pleasure being with you. Thanks for joining me on the Leadership is Changing podcast. Until next time, bye for now.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Leadership is Changing with your host, Denis Gianoutsos. Each week, we and our guests provide information and insights through exploring leading change, inspiring executives and leaders to adapt and lead a bigger game in a fast-moving world.